guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new to my channel, thank you for clicking the video. My name is Dina, and today we are going to be talking about witchcraft and witches and the stigma and a whole bunch of different things. And I wanted to talk about this because I have been kind of avoiding certain wording of things when I put things on my channel just because of the stigma around it. And if you guys pay attention to me on Instagram, my stories, my posts, some of my videos on my channel, like my witchy spiritual book haul and things like that, you guys will notice that I'm kind of into witchy things. And I've always said it as witchy things. So that kind of leads me to the first section of this video. I'm going to be breaking down this video in sections just to help keep it a little bit more organized because there's a lot of different topics that I want to talk about. Well, it's one encompassing topic, but there's a lot of subtopics involved in this video. So the very first section that we are going to be getting into is the witchy aesthetic and dancing around the truth. Excuse my birds in the background, they are just living their best life. They're really happy right now and they hear me talking, so whenever they hear me talking, they just start chatting. But so what I really want to talk about is my content on this channel. So I have really wanted to put like more witchcraft type videos on my channel because it's something that actually fascinates me and it's really interesting, and it's become a big part of my life, but it's not a part of my life that I've fully shared. I've kind of started to share a little bit more on Instagram, but I have been calling it witchy instead of witchcraft because witchy is a little bit more accepted. If you go on Instagram and stuff, the witchy aesthetic is very popular, and especially people that are really into Halloween and things like that, like people like the witchy aesthetic. But as soon as you start saying witchcraft or witches, that's where people are kind of like, ooh, that sounds a little bit evil. And yeah, it's the stigma. It comes from a really bad place of like a whole bunch of misunderstandings and ignorance and the spread of misinformation. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So I have wanted to make so many different types of videos about witchcraft and my journey. I'm just gonna say it, I am a baby witch, what they call a baby witch. A baby witch is someone who's still kind of in the learning process of witchcraft, and like, don't get me wrong, you're always learning, like you never stop learning in witchcraft or in any sort of aspect of your life, really. But I'm what they call a baby witch because I'm learning more, I'm reading more than I am practicing, but I have practice. And I haven't come out and said this to really anybody except my like close friends that are really into the same sort of thing as me and other communities that I've become a part of because there's so much stigma around it. So like, I'm in a witchcraft group on Facebook. I'm in a Discord for tarot because I'm learning about the tarot, but we also talk about witchcraft. I'm in these communities, but I'm not really fully like showing it to the world or like my family or my friends and stuff because there's a lot of stigma. But that's what I want to talk about with you guys today. And I really want to clear the air on the stigma and kind of educate people more because, for one, I'll feel more free to do what I want to do and what makes me happy and share that with the world, but also not feel like I'm hiding. Like, I feel like I'm in almost like what they call in the broom closet where I'm like kind of hiding myself. And there's honestly a lot of practicing witches that are in the broom closet because of the stigma. So yeah, that leads me into the second section of this video called The Stigma of Witchcraft and a Brief History. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of history. By the way, some of this I've learned from this book here, The Modern Guide to Witchcraft. It is an amazing book. If you are looking for a book that kind of just covers everything as far as history, modern witchcraft, spells, casting a circle, like protection, whole bunch of different things like herbs, crystals, moons, like everything. Honestly, this is this is my all-time favorite witchcraft book. I have quite a few now, and I will actually be doing another book haul video soon, so stay tuned for that. I know you guys really like that video. That's actually my most viewed video on my channel, is my witchy book haul, so I'll be doing another one soon for you guys to see. Yeah, this is like my all-time favorite just because it's got such a good variety of information. I'm not saying it has every single thing. I'm not saying it's maybe not necessarily for the advanced witch, but for a baby witch or a beginner like me, it is a really good book. This book has a good amount of information on the history of witchcraft and also the stigma around witchcraft. So that's what I want to discuss in this section today. So when we talk about like the stigma of witchcraft and all the negative ideas towards witchcraft, that comes back to like the 8th and 9th centuries when witchcraft was basically criminalized. So I'm just going to read a couple excerpts from this book and just kind of also give you guys a few other interesting facts. If you guys are interested in reading more into this, by all means get this book or just do your research on a Google search. Honestly, there's so much information about the like Salem witch trials and all the different things that happened back then, but I just want to give you guys a little bit of a brief history so you really understand where the stigma comes from. During the 8th and 9th centuries, the powers that be started laying down laws against witchcraft and linking age-old practices with evil doing. As the Christian church gained power, it attacked the old religion, which was based in nature and folk tradition. So first of all, let's talk about that old tradition. Old tradition was based in nature and folk practices. This is where witchcraft came from. The old traditions of working with herbs, herbal medicine. Herbal medicine has been around for thousands and thousands of years. It's been used in cultures all around the world. There's one of them that's very, very common that most people know about is ancient Chinese medicine. Ancient Chinese medicine works with herbs. You can call that witchcraft, but like these practices of being very closely connected to nature and using nature and all these other folk traditions, that's where witchcraft is rooted in. I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit. So between the 1100s and the 1300s, the church continued to hammer away at witches. Christian zealots presented a picture of witches as evil creatures who cavorted with the devil, ate children, and held wild orgies to seduce innocents. Witchcraft became a crime against God and the church. In 1317, Pope John the, I am so bad with Roman numerals, XXII, authorized a religious court known as the Inquisition to go after anyone who was believed to have made a pact with the devil. All of this, the whole idea about Christians being evil, you know, selling their soul to the devil, working with the devil, eating children, which is absolutely ridiculous, all these ideas came from Christian beliefs. I just want to throw in here also before I go forward that the devil is a Christian construct. The devil is something that is part of the Christian belief, the Christian Bible, all that stuff. The devil is not a big part of witchcraft or religions associated with witchcraft, if that makes sense. So most witches don't actually believe in the devil. And specifically in Wicca, which Wicca is a religion, by the way. So Wiccans practice witchcraft, but not all witches are Wiccan. Just want to clarify that. But Wiccans don't believe in the devil. And most witches don't believe in the devil either. So why would a witch or a Wiccan, why would they worship the devil or worship Satan if they don't actually believe it's real? This is a Christian belief. Now, I'm not saying there's no Christian witches, because witches could be anybody. Honestly, people can grow up with a religion and choose to have witchcraft in their life because witchcraft is a craft, it's a practice, it's not a religion. But I just wanted to throw that in there. So the whole belief that witches worship Satan or all witches worship Satan is ridiculous because it's not part of their belief system necessarily. It is a Christian belief. So basically they went after anyone that was believed to be, you know, making a pact with the devil or practicing witchcraft. Now this was brutal because they went after so many innocent women and girls, young girls, and they would go off of anything, honestly, if they were seen working with herbs. They also believed in something called the witch's mark, which basically they would strip these women and girls naked in front of a crowd of people, and they would search every inch of their naked body for like a witch's mark, which could literally just be a scar or a birthmark. How intrusive is that? Like, imagine just being stripped naked in front of a group of people while they just search your body for a mark on your body. Like the tiniest imperfection and you're deemed a witch and you're like murdered or tortured or hanged or burned. Like, it's just so disturbing the things that they did to these women and girls. So thousands of trials proceeded. Punishments included burning, hanging, and excommunication. The interrogation process involved torturing people to get them to confess the truth. So they literally brutally tortured these women and girls until they told the truth. But literally they were just saying whatever these people wanted them to say because they were being tortured and they wanted it to stop. Obviously it wasn't going to stop because they were going to murder them, but it's just so disturbing. So basically they forced them to admit to whatever they wanted them to say. It goes on. There's honestly so much about this. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but that's where that came from. So all these beliefs that witches are evil, that they worship the devil and stuff, it all comes from like really ignorant people that didn't know anything about anyone. So yeah, that's where that comes from. And going forward, you know, the media took that on. If you look at things like, you know, the series Sabrina, which by the way, I love that series, but it is like completely horrible when it comes to actually like saying anything, I guess realistic in terms of witchcraft, because in that show, they all worship the devil, and that's not obviously realistic. And then there's movies like Hocus Pocus, where the Sanderson sisters sold their soul to the devil. Again, that's another inaccurate portrayal about witchcraft and witches. And then we have like the Blair Witch Project, which also portrays witches as these really scary, evil beings that just want to murder people and torture people and take their soul. It's it's media that has honestly created this portrayal about witches and witchcraft when that's not actually what it's like in real life. So I just want to actually talk about witchcraft today, and that leads me to the next section of this video called Witchcraft and Witches Today, and I'm going to throw in some interesting statistics for you guys. So some things that you may not know, again, from this book. I found this super fascinating. So in the past few decades, the ranks of witches have swelled rapidly. Although it's impossible to accurately determine how many people practice witchcraft, a study done in 2001 by City University of New York found 134,000 self-described Wiccans in the United States. Now that's just Wiccans. Again, Wicca is a religion that doesn't include all the other witches that do not categorize themselves as Wiccans. Certainly the number has increased by then. That was in 2001, and you know, with the New Age movement becoming a lot more popular, it's probably pretty high right now. Also, the American Academy of Religions now includes panels on Wicca and witchcraft. The U.S. Defense Department recognizes Wicca as an official religion and allows Wiccan soldiers to state their belief on their dog tags. As of 2006, an estimated 1,800 Wiccans were serving in the U.S. military. So that's something that you probably didn't realize. So yeah, I want to talk about that. You know, there's so many people out there in the world right now that are practicing witches that you don't even realize it. And they're not these creepy people in like cloaks hiding in caves, like secretly brewing something to like take over the world or like possess you, or, you know, like it's not what people think. There's everyday people that are practicing witchcraft and you don't even realize it. Like there's probably so many teachers that are practicing witchcraft. There's probably doctors that also are witches. There could be, you know, news anchors that are also witches. There could be, honestly, anybody can be a witch. And you don't have to be Wiccan, or you don't have to be pagan. These are religions. Some people just choose to stick with the craft, and some people are just spiritual, and that's me. That may be startling for some of you because you didn't realize how mainstream and popular it is, but there are a lot of people out there that are practicing witches that you don't even realize it. So that leads me into witchcraft in everyday life, and I want to talk about how witchcraft really isn't that far-fetched, or it isn't quite so different from practices that we've been like doing for like thousands of years, and people practice witchcraft without even realizing it. So like I mentioned earlier, people have been working with herbs for a very long time, and they still do, and you probably have also worked with herbs without realizing it and have taken part in some sort of herbal medicine. For example, I know for myself that whenever I have an upset stomach or if I have cramps, I usually have some ginger. I have ginger tea because ginger settles the stomach. That is an herbal remedy that's working with herbs. Peppermint. Peppermint's fantastic for headaches. I usually do that for whenever I have a headache. I'll roll some peppermint oil on the back of my neck. That is like a type of herbal medicine. I'm not using Advil to take away my pain. I am using an herbal option instead. So that's one example, and like I said, you know, ancient Chinese medicine, many people still practice this. People could call it witchcraft. Really, it's really not that far from that. Also, blowing up candles on your birthday cake. You may have not thought about that, but you're setting an intention, you're making a wish, you're doing a ritual. That is witchcraft. For all you spiritual new age people out there, that's become very popular. Crystals, things like that. As you can see, I am one of those people. That is not very far off from witchcraft. Witches also work with crystals. They believe in the magical properties of different crystals, that certain crystals help with certain things based on their vibration, and they use that in their practice. People that are into the whole new age thing, who like crystals, who like oracle cards, who like all those things, you know, who love to have plants around them and be in nature and stuff like that. Those are all elements of witchcraft. Witches love that kind of stuff. Most witches anyways. Not every single witch is going to be the same. Some witches love to work with nature. Other witches are not the biggest fan of nature. It really depends. That leads me into another thing I want to talk about is everybody's practice is going to be different and unique to them. So there's different types of witches. I'm not going to get into the types of witches in this video because that's just too much, and I'm still learning myself, but there's different types of witches, and also beyond that, every single witch is different. So everyone's gonna have a different kind of practice. Everyone's gonna have different things that they prefer to work with, and no one's gonna be the same. For example, worshiping Satan isn't intrinsic to witchcraft per se, but I'm not saying that there are no witches out there that worship Satan, because there probably are, but there's probably other people out there that just worship Satan for whatever weird reason, even if they're not witches. Like, I remember it was probably like 4 years ago or maybe more, I had this guy follow me on Instagram, and I'm like, who is this guy? And he was clearly a Satan worshiper. Like, his page was pretty dark and creepy, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna block you because it's a little weird. So I don't want you guys to get the idea like, oh, witchcraft is evil and you like, they worship Satan. No, they don't. That's not something that is intrinsic specifically to witchcraft. That is a personal decision. There's some weird people out there doing weird things. And I also want to talk about practices, because people think that witches, you know, hex people and they do all these evil things, or they put curses on people and stuff, and that's another stigma around witchcraft. What a witch does is her personal decision, or his personal decision. Witches aren't intrinsically evil and cursing everybody. There might be some people out there that do decide to take part in that kind of magic, but there are good witches, there are bad witches, there's good magic, there's bad magic, just as there's good people and there's bad people, okay? So I just want to like clarify that. And I also just want to briefly talk about the Wiccan religion. So Wicca in particular has a list of rules called the Wiccan Rede, and basically it's kind of rules they live by, just as in like any religion kind of has certain rules that they live by. The Wiccans also have this as well, and they believe that anything you do comes back to you in threefold. So basically, if they were to curse somebody, they believe that that's going to come back to them in threefold. One could maybe call it karma. I don't know if that's exactly the right term for it, but it's kind of like the same sort of idea as karma. So why would Wiccans go around cursing everybody if it's going to be coming back to them, you know? So that's something I want you guys to get in your head, is that you can't group witches in one category, because you're gonna have good witches, you're gonna have bad witches, just as you have good people and bad people, right? There's good people and there's bad people in the world. It's gonna be the same for witches. It's gonna be the same for Christians. It's gonna be the same for whatever other groups of people there are, right? So that's always gonna be the case. So now I've given you guys a brief background on witchcraft and witches and Wicca, and just kind of talked about the stigma around it. I want to talk about my own personal practice and experience. I would say that I kind of found witchcraft within the last, and it's hard to put a timestamp on it, but I think it's been about 2 years. So my journey started with New Age and spirituality, and I found this, and I've always been interested in the New Age section, but I think I've talked about this in a previous video, but I've never felt like fully comfortable to explore it because I was always worried about what people would think, again, because of stigma. I got my first oracle deck when I think it was a couple years ago. I'm trying to remember now, but it was after I met my boyfriend. So my boyfriend's family, his sister, his mom, are very spiritual. They are very much into oracle cards, Reiki, body talk, a whole bunch of different things like that. I'm not going to get too much detail about that, but basically they're the ones that kind of introduced me to this whole new world, and this is where I kind of started to find my more spiritual side. I've never been super religious. I've been open to different things, but I never grew up with a strict religion per se. But after, you know, meeting them and learning about oracle cards and this like whole other spiritual world, it was very intriguing to me and almost peaceful in a way. And I don't know how to explain it, but I found like I was really finding myself and I was being like more open, and I felt my intuition was just really opening up. That's where this started. And it often happens that when you start to explore, you know, the new age and spirituality, witchcraft isn't far off from that. It's very much like the same sort of thing. So if you go into the self-help, new age spiritual side of like Indigo or chapters or whatever, in that book section with the oracle cards, you find witchcraft stuff right beside it. It's all together. And same with like if you go in on YouTube, I found that's when I very quickly became interested in witchcraft, was when I was following more like spiritual new age people on YouTube and I was watching their stuff. And then I kind of like, you know, like YouTube just kind of like leads you to different channels and different things. And then I came across witchcraft. And I think the first person I actually came across was Harmony Nice. And she's like one of the very popular Wiccans on YouTube. And she's not doing a ton of like witchcraft videos these days. She's a little bit more like self-help or like her, you know, spiritual journey, maybe not so much like witchcraft. She still practices, but she just doesn't do videos on it as much. But she was the first person that I found. So from her channel, I also found other witchcraft channels, and then I like started exploring a whole different witchcraft side of Instagram, and that's where my interest just kind of like, it just bloomed, and I got more and more interested. And eventually I bought my first witchcraft book. It's probably been like well over a year now that I've been thoroughly reading and researching and learning, and I've just kind of recently started to practice. I haven't been super open about it. I have posted a couple little things on my Instagram story, but like I said, I haven't really gone forward with making videos because of the stigma, and that's why I wanted to make this video, to address that. So I feel like after making this video, I feel so much more free to express myself and talk about this stuff more, because it has become such a big part of my life. And I just like want to talk about that, because once you find some sort of practice that like helps you connect with yourself and, you know, like to your spiritual side on a whole different level, it's just like amazing. And I want to say, like, I have been going through a really tough time with my depression, and this practice has honestly helped me a lot. It has like made me feel better about myself. It has given me hope. It's like, it's hard to fully explain. Maybe I'll just kind of talk about some of the things that I've done in my practice just so you guys kind of get an idea. And I do want to make some videos specifically about these spells and practices that I've kind of come up with. Some of them have like been for my books, but some of them have actually been my own creation just based on like information I've found. I'll like collect information and then kind of decide what I want to do with it. But there's something very empowering about it, and I want to talk about that because I don't want people to think that witchcraft is some evil thing. Like, I'm not worshiping the devil, I'm not doing anything evil, I'm just doing something for me. One of the things I did, for example, is a burning ritual, and I've done that a couple times. And basically what you do is you write down on a piece of paper all the things that you want to let go of that don't serve you, whether they are negative beliefs about yourself, certain things that you don't like about yourself, things that are, you know, kind of chipping away at your self-esteem, or negative beliefs or limiting beliefs you have about things that you could do in your life, or things that, you know, have kind of traumatized you in the past and you just want to let go of them. You write down all those things on a piece of paper and then you burn them. And I kind of made a little bit of more of an in-depth ritual about that. Like, I made my own incantation. I cast a circle before I do that, which just helps to protect you. It makes you only open to, you know, love and pure light, and make sure that no negative energies get in. There's a whole process, and if you guys are interested in that, I will 100% make a video on that for you guys. But yeah, you burn it. And I mentioned in one of my Halloween videos that I got myself a cauldron, and I love it. It's so cool. It's so witchy. I love it. Yeah, I got a cast iron cauldron, and this is where I burn things that I want to let go of. And there's something super empowering about doing that. And you can't tell me that burning pieces of paper with things that I want to let go of to make my life better is evil or bad in any way, because it's not. It's empowering. It's amazing. It feels so good to let go of those things. And maybe it doesn't work the first time, but you just keep doing it. And that's one thing I want to talk about, just so you guys kind of get an insight. If you're someone who's kind of skeptical and has believed these negative things about witchcraft, and like, I mean, it's not your fault. It's the information you've been provided with by society. You haven't really received the information that you need to think any differently. So that's one thing that I have done. I've also recently done a self-love jar spell, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. Again, I can make a video about how I did this if you guys are interested, but I made myself a self-love jar spell, and basically it's just, yeah, I've been feeling depressed. I haven't maybe been loving myself as much as I should, and I took the time to do this. I did this on a full moon. I did this on the blue moon, actually, on Halloween, and that's when I did a few of my rituals. And I keep this right on the little shelf right beside my bed. And I mean, you can keep it with you, you can hold it with you, you can carry it around in your purse, whatever you want to do. But it's just like empowering, and it's like when you do something like this, it's just like self-care. You know what I mean? Like how you take a bath, or how you do a face mask, or you journal, or anything that you do for self-care. This is just another form of self-care, honestly, doing some sort of ritual. And each item, like each herb, everything that I put inside this jar has some sort of magical property associated with self-love and what I'm trying to achieve, and that's basically how I made this. So yeah, if you guys are interested in how I made this, I will make a video for that. Just let me know in the comments below. But that's another thing I did. I've done protection spells before. I felt like a relative just needed some protection and extra love, and I lit a white candle for them, and I said a little, honestly, you can say incantation, like that's the word for witchcraft, but you could call it a prayer. Like, it's really not that much different. I basically said a prayer for this loved one while lighting a white candle and let it burn completely. So candle magic's another very popular thing. Candle magic's also very easy to do, and I've been doing that because I haven't done anything super in-depth or crazy yet, because I am, again, a baby witch. I'm a newbie, so I'm not doing anything too complicated and difficult to work with yet. But that's another thing I've done. And again, burning spell to get rid of things that don't serve me. Self-love jar spell, protection spells for my loved ones. Does that sound evil to you? It's not. It's not evil. There's nothing evil about witchcraft. That's just something I really wanted to talk about on this channel. I wanted to come out of the broom closet, be straight with you guys. I am not just into the witchy aesthetic or whatever you want to call it. I am a practicing baby witch. It is out there. I am a practicing baby witch. I have so much to learn, guys, and maybe this video wasn't the most informative for you. I'm sure there are I know there's tons of other videos out there that are way more informative done by witches that have been practicing for years and years and years. There's people that have grown up doing this because their previous generations were witches. You don't have to be born a witch to become a witch. Anybody could be a witch. Anybody could have their own practice. That's another important thing to know. It's another misconception. But yeah, I love my practice. I love working with oracle cards. I love working with tarot cards. I love reading books about witchcraft. I love crystals. I love holding crystals. I love plants. I love plants. My room's just covered in plants. I'm having fun working with the herbs, but I love this stuff. I love putting intention out there, putting out intention into the world and manifesting things into your life. That could be called new age spirituality, but that's also witchcraft. That's what witchcraft is. Witchcraft is working with intention. That's how you manifest things with witchcraft, through intention. It's just maybe a little bit more elaborate because you're doing a ritual, but it's not that much different. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope this kind of cleared up any sort of stigma, again, any sort of misconceptions that you had about witchcraft if you were someone who's maybe not super educated about the topic. If you're my friend and you've seen some witchy stuff on my Instagram, or just a couple like witchy type videos here and there, and you're kind of like, oh, what's Dina getting into? Because I'm sure there's some friends out there that are kind of like, oh, what's Dina doing? But maybe this video just helped to clarify things for you a little bit more and kind of understand things from my point of view of why this has become such an important aspect of my life. And I'm actually just so ecstatic that I got to share this with you guys, honestly, because I feel like I'm just so much more free to just do what I want, and I feel like there's been like almost like a creative block. Like, there's so many things that I've wanted to do on this channel, but I'm like, ooh, I can't do that because like, what will people think? I did like a witchy book haul, but maybe I shouldn't do a video on spells because that is just too much witchiness. Like, that's too much witchcraft. What will people think? And maybe there are some people out there that are super religious and still will think that, you know, I'm contorting with the devil or something, but that's just not the case. That's just not reality. So hopefully this clarified things for you guys. If you are someone who was also in my shoes, or is kind of in my shoes, because I feel like I'm still kind of there, but not quite, I don't know, I'm getting there. But if you're like in the broom closet and you're just like, you feel really scared to tell people, I hope this video kind of gives you some courage, and I mean, join the family, join this community. It'd be really cool. But yeah, I'm going to leave the video at that because I feel like this video is just going to get way too long. It probably is way too long already. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to be notified whenever I upload a new video. There will be more witchy videos, witchcraft videos. I gotta get used to saying witchcraft instead of witchy. But there'll be more witchcraft videos in the future. I hope to see you guys in the next video, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.